hopefully I will be able to remember everything I wanted to say about this. First of all, as I unwrapped it and I was checking my sinew job, and I can tell how well I did it because what I was aiming for was basically a single layer from side to side. I didn't go over the edges, just on the top of it, from tip to tip, with then kind of a grading second layer with quite a bit thickened in the handle and then grading back towards its tip. And so when I unwound the mummy wraps this morning, what I saw was it was dried down along the edges and at the tips, and it was still, just that whitish right down the center with the greatest right here. So I could say, hey, I did all right laying multiple layers of sinew at one time, just being careful. Somebody mentioned in the comments to be extra careful, letting it dry down a bit, and then adding the second layer, and then possibly the third just right down the center. Good on you for mastering being able to add sinew to a dried layer, which is very possible, but it's not just, you just don't slap it on if you don't want it to delaminate. So things are progressing nicely. But what I noticed when I took the wrap off, it's like, I honestly don't know what kind of wood this is. For all practical purposes, it looks like the heartwood of walnut. I thought it was cherry. I don't remember it. Because how I found this is over here, right there, and probably everywhere else, I've got a pile of bows that I worked on to various degrees of finishedness. And this was basically finished, point of having the curves put in it. I don't know why I stopped. And I went on to another project. I've got some really cool bow possibilities right there, including a maple one that's kind of a shortened long bow. And it's shortened because it was a long bow, and I went to recurve the tips, and I got a little ambitious. One of the tips cracked. It didn't cooperate, so I chopped off some length of it. But, that's going to make a brilliant little sinew-backed bow. Well, yeah, I've got a bunch of possibilities up there. So I've seen on some videos people will do the backing and then do wraps on it. I don't do that. I let it shrink down, because if you do the backing right away and you've got substantial sinew on it and you do the wraps, when the backing shrinks down, then the wraps will kind of, be kind of crinkly. So I wait until it's pretty much done before I put the wraps on. I'm going to put a couple right in here, and I'm going to do them on the tips. And I haven't decided. It's kind of a spec bow, a speculative bow. So, there's no criterion. It's just whatever I want. I don't know how I'm going to work the tips. Will I do string groove? 2 string grooves? Will I do it right on the end in honor of that one bow I saw that was an actual museum specimen? Will I just do wraps and hit? I don't know. We'll see when I get there. Another question I had, what will be the draw weight and the draw length? Well, the bow will decide that. Draw weight. Now I'm thinking, you want to get the bow up to a comfortable level of stress, to make it efficient. You need to have a bow that will serve its purpose. It needs to throw an arrow at a certain speed with a certain force to do what you want at the end of its flight. And so with a short draw bow, you take a short draw bow, let's say I'm just throwing this out there, 20 inches, right? Compared to a 28-inch bow. The short draw bow, 45 pounds. The long draw bow, the same. The short draw bow will have a significant lowered performance just because of the draw. The longer the draw, pound for pound, it's going to be a harder hitting bow. It'll impart more force. It'll go further. And so in a short draw bow, to be effective, really, whereas a long bow that's 35 pounds, you can do some stuff with it. But a short draw bow at 35 pounds will be significantly less powerful. And so I'm aiming for, let's say, between 45 and 50 pounds. Now I'm analyzing this. Kind of wood, which is a mystery, but let's say it's choke cherry. It's this thick. It's this long. There's this much wood in it to store energy. I think that this bow, this amount of wood, can store 45 pounds worth of energy. I think that if I draw out the 45 pounds, it will be fine. It's a tiny little bow. Not much wood here to store all that energy, but 45 pounds? Yeah, I think that's doable. Now, how far will I pull it back before it hits that 45 pounds, or when it hits that 45? Maybe a little bit further, 45, 50. That will be the draw length. Keep in mind, it is a very short bow. You know, I could probably shave some off, get that same weight, draw it back further, but I've reduced some wood. It's a weird kind of balance of engineering forces. But we'll see. What else was I going to say? I think I about covered it there. I appreciate you watching this journey. I like to look at my own videos and it's like, wow, I wonder why anybody watches me. But apparently some people do. And what amazes me is people that are incredible bowyers, or bow makers, bowyers, you know, that buy my bows, and it's like, in my mind, it's like, why are you buying my bows? You make beautiful bows on your own. But, you know, who am I to say don't buy them? Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I also, again, transition between full-time day job was overwhelming and stressful. Oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for the person replacing me. Getting back into real life where I've got some time to do stuff and relax. You know, figuring out what I have to do, for who I have to do it for, locating materials, and I'm still in a transition zone a little bit because going from produce manager to fruit cutter, and because of Social Security, I need to end working for somebody else this year on August 9th. I've calculated how much money I can have before I hit that $23,000 with a certain amount of buffer involved. Fortunately, my wife owns all my businesses, both bow making and stump grinding and tree cutting, so she's going to make out like a bandit. Last bit, I don't know if you watch this, but I had these postcards, right? And I went around kind of stalking people, and I kind of felt funny about it, you know. It's like, hey, I've been watching you in your yard. And I didn't put it like that, but you need to get those stumps out of there. You know, I can do it for you. It is kind of creepy in a way, but hopefully I worded it in a way that, like, if you ever decide to remove those stumps, you know, give me a call. I'm one of your neighbors, you know. And I discovered Google Earth because I was trying to find the particular house. I had a lot of this house. It's like Stump City. It looks like one of those lakes where all the dead trees are in it, kind of a thing, right? So I downloaded Google Earth. I'm looking through there. It has addresses too, so I knew it was blankety blank, South blankety blank street, right? So I wrote them a nice postcard. Now I could tell they don't have a lot of money, but I worded it that, you know, you can work something out, you know, if you want to reclaim your yard. And then I remembered when I was back in college, I was a college kid at one time, drinking too much beer and staying up all night, you know, doing what college kids do. That's why I went from engineering to geology. I had to have fun with geology as a civil engineering student in my junior year, and it's like, wow, I'm getting out of engineering because in geology all you do is drink beer and look at rocks. And then I discovered mineralogy and structural and geophysics, and it was like worse than civil engineering as far as difficulty. Way more involved. They pulled us in with fun with geology. Hey boys, let's just drink beer and look at rocks. It's like a recruiter. If you were ever served, you know what I mean. Mine was like, if you like to take a walk in the woods, you'll love field artillery. And then I called him at basic training, you know, and it's like, screw you, not drill sergeant, but recruiter. But anyway, where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? Tangents are dangerous. Give me a minute here. Old man moment. I forgot where the heck I was going with that. Need another cup of coffee. What the hell was I talking about? I don't know. Guess it doesn't matter too much. I'll catch up in the next video.